Hello everybody, welcome to Ero Season 10 Round 1 for PC F1 Division. My name is David Hoy, you might know me as Shots Ahoy. I commentated a bit in Season 6 for F1 on the PC. And I've done quite a lot of commentating for F3 in Season 7 and 8 as well, so I might perhaps be a recognisable voice. What I am just going to quickly do is ask the chat to make sure that volumes are okay, everything's coming through okay on the stream, just so we get as smooth a start as possible. We hear there'll be rain in the race, I've just seen in the chat, so that will be very, very exciting. Perhaps a bit more than what came in today's Grand Prix if you've seen it. I won't spoil anything, other than it did make an albeit slight appearance. Let's get all the bits and bobs loaded and then hide this ugly UI as we wait to see who have we got out first. Daniel Rocker in the Williams car. I did get most people added. Not quite everybody, but that's fine. We can work with what we've got. Like I said, I'm here just for the one appearance. My game seems a little bit loud. I don't really want to fiddle around with it on the stream unless anyone tells me it is loud. So I'll just leave things as they are for now, as we've got the all-famous tyre warming strat on this 23 game. Unlike last year's game, there is some realism with the brake warming. The actual temperature of the tyres, as we see Rocker showcasing that through Spa's wonderful Sector 2, taking Pouon quite a lot slower than I imagine he will in one lap's time. So we just sweep through Fanyas up to Stavolo. As if you've watched the Grand Prix, this render of the track will look quite a lot different to how it looks in real life. I don't even believe there's a house there anymore, but we move. Got a Red Bull catching up to the back of Rocker here. Now, are they going to behave themselves and just go one at a time, or the Red Bull? I think it's Drake actually. Just backing off a bit now. Yeah, he's the only Red Bull in, so excuse me, that will be Drake Dempsey behind Daniel Rocker here as he takes the wider line through the bus stop chicane and will be the first one to start their lap here in the Circuit Spa Francorchamps. Breaking down the third gear, trying to kiss the apex of La Source, run it onto the curb. You can get a pretty good drive out of there, barreling all the way up what will be 8th gear, full throttle through Eau Rouge and Radion as he heads now over the crest. Slight right hand turn here and we're onto the Kemmel Straight. DRS open. Probably reach around 215 miles per hour here. Braking just before the 50-meter board. Get tied in nicely to lay the com through Mawardy here. He can run quite high up on the exit curb, but it does unsettle the car a bit. Going through Rivage or Bruxelles, depending on what people call it these days. Corner that is just named No Name at this point. I doubt that will ever change. Right up to the edge of track limits there, Daniel Rocker goes. Keeps it in 7th through Pouon, slight lift, then full commitment on the throttle here. Take the tight line on the left-hand side to save those valuable hundredths. Now we are going through this lovely little section of the track. I quite like it, although you can get swept by quite easily. It is deceptively that way, I suppose, but here we are then, going up now through what I would class as the back straight, really. About to go through Blanchimont here. Quite a steep left inside curb here, just kisses it nicely though, doesn't really scrub off any more speed than necessary. Braking for the bus stop chicane, just want to kiss both apexes and really nail the rotation of the cars. The cars in this year's game tend to rotate quite slowly here, as I think Drake has bailed and has gone into the pits. We've got McLaren next across the line. That is a Rocco. And we have one of the Ferraris next as well. That is McGinty, otherwise known as Curley on here. I think I might actually have McGinty on my friends list, so that might be a An error on my part to see Tim Bayer go 5/10 faster than anyone else in the Mercedes. Got Bruno Mazzini here, coming up to the line in the AlphaTauri. That is P4 currently. Got some other ones going through. I'm trying to look at their comments here as well. It's actually Speech's Corner. No one really cares. I caught that one late, so now I don't know what corner you're referring to, and I'm too embarrassed to ask. Anyway, we've got Schlack, got Schalk. I apologise if I butcher any of the pronunciations. We Brits are not famous for nailing certain pronunciations other than fish and chips and other such things. We've got Wajar now to the line, or Wagonar, one or the other. Let's go Wagonar, that's what I've heard other people call him. Goes P10 in the Ferrari. Might even be going for a follow-up lap here. Thinks there might be time in that one. We've got Piper and the McLaren going through the bus stop now, up to the line. To finish run number 1. Slots it in P4 with a 41.2. So it is actually nice and tight up at the front. Got Rocker going into the pits with his teammate Quill Pavlakovic in the Williams. 42.3. Quill, if I had to sum Quill up, because I have done quite a lot of races with them, they are not what I would describe as a qualifying threat. However, they are very good under race trim. So it'll be very, very interesting to see what they can do, where they can put the car. Spa is always a bit of a gamble. There's not always a safety car that comes out. It's an old school track, so there are runoffs in certain areas where if someone does get spun, they can go through penalty 3. No name. Thank you very much for summing that. Okay, so Speaker's Corner. I'm not going to remember that, but it's nice to know that Speaker's Corner is named. Well, no name has a name and it is Speaker's Corner, but anyway. Dirksen goes to P8 in the Haas, just ahead of his teammate with a 41.8. I'm expecting, looking at sort of the fairly regular track conditions that we have, it's a bit cloudy out, but I would expect a mid 140. We haven't seen Drake go out yet. Whereabouts is Drake on his outlap? He's only going through. Wait for it. Speaker's Corner. Bosh. That was well timed. Piper must be darting into the pits there. The fuel light is on. Lucas Dirksen just identifying where the bad curbs are on his in-lap. We've got most people coming in now. Who is the lead outlapper here as Crocs is darting back into the pit? I believe Crocs is a F2 driver, observing in F1 today, so I'm imagining he had quite a nice drive yesterday to earn the reserve seat. Anyway, we've got Hemelair, I believe he's a Belgian driver, who is starting a push lap, so we'll stay on board. I say on board, we used broadcast cam a bit more for this lap, so we used the onboard cam quite a lot for Rocker's lap at the start of the stream. So let's see what the Aston Martin driver can do using Daniel Ricciardo's number 3. Very nice. Even though he is back in the sport, he's not in the sport on the game, so Hemelair able to take full advantage. I do like watching the cars go through the chicanes on the onboard cam, just because everyone seems to mount them a little bit differently. A pretty decent run through Lakon. Through Rivage. Speaker's Corner. 2 for 2 so far. That's pretty good. Let's hope this car ahead gets out of the way. It's now for Tauri. Is that Bruno or Wilson? I would check, but I care more about staying on board with Hemelair there, and just about gets out of the way. So they're going through. Fanya's now takes it fairly close to track limits. It's a little bit conservative, I suppose, just wanting to get a safe lap in, as he hasn't set one yet. Tight line out of Stavolo, all the way up the back straight towards Blanchimont. Some of the aerial cameras for Spa are quite nice, actually, I have to say. Negotiating the bus stop quite nicely, getting the car turned in as well. This looks like it could be a pretty decent lap. And it is P6. Very nice indeed. So, have we got Ekval or Drake ahead? It's Drake. Let's see what Drake Dempsey can do. Should be a pretty recognisable name at this point, as he has been a part of Ero's history for quite some seasons. Started off on PlayStation. Is that rain? Might be some rain, but anyway, yes. Drake started off on PlayStation. At least he was PlayStation when I first joined the league. That's a 40.7. I moved over to PC season 7 or 8. I can't quite remember, but I think there are some sprinkles of rain. Ekval does a 42.4. So every driver has now set a lap. Got Schalke, who may as well hop on board with the Mercedes. Goes through Eau Rouge. Full committed still, so the track is Drake Dempsey Season 9 champion. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't mention that. That was one I actually knew, but Drake is somewhat of a formidable force. Very, very, very fast driver. As a resident TT sweat as of late, I'm very much accustomed to seeing Drake within the top 10 on just about every track on the time trial leaderboards. So Tim Byers half a second down on his previous best. He is still pushing, but I don't think these are improvable conditions anymore, even for the bottom drivers here. We've got Curley in the Ferrari. 10th and a half down at the moment, might be able to improve slightly. So we've got Lindhart, who's joined, I believe, a late comer. Curley does actually improve, but stays P18. Will at least get one position over Lindhart if Lindhart is racing. Wagner trying to brave it out, but has already invalidated. I think everyone will just be crawling back to the pits. Nothing really to say, to be honest, as Lindhart has departed. Goodbye, Lindhart. It was nice to have you here briefly. Bring some warmth to what looks like a very cold Spa-Francorchamps today. Is everyone moving out the way for Wagner, who's still got the battery on, so might just be pushing regardless. Just to see if the conditions are improvable. Nope. Just starting to the pit lane instead. Pretty believable. Crocs is invalidated and half a second down. Here's Wilson on a cooldown lap. Everyone's on a cooldown lap because it's wet. Drives are probably still faster than the intermediate tyres. However, no one's improving. No one will improve. Let's see what people decide to do. Sometimes people will just retire in the pits if nothing is going to improve lap time wise, and just move the session on along that little bit faster. You see Piper retiring, Rocker retiring, Pavlakovic retiring. Okay, hopefully the other 15 remaining non-retired drivers hop on the retirement bandwagon, as Dirksen has. Because if we can get into race trim faster, then it saves this big awkward 5-minute long gap of just me talking absolute nonsense before the session gets underway. Looks like just about everyone has seen that the retirements have been advised just to progress the session. There's no point going out on inters. No point really doing anything, to be honest. Not really going to establish anything going out on the intermediate tyres. No improvement in lap time, at least, anyway. So we are down now to 7 drivers remaining. Let's play retirement bingo. Place your bets on who the last driver to retire will be. So we've got an interesting view of the pit lane, the pit lane, the pit lane. Or the pit lane. Doesn't even change the where the camera's positioned. It just changed the little arrow on the track map. Okay, 5 drivers left, including both Mercedes. Still both Mercedes. Got Himalaya, Dempsey, Gottschalk and Bayer. Just chilling out at the moment, it seems to be. So we are currently commentating a menu as Drake has got the memo. We are down to 3. Mercedes versus Aston Martin. Who will be the last one to realise? It's absolutely thrilling stuff. We are literally just racing. Okay, we're not racing. Maybe the Mercedes boys ought to. Just to progress affairs along. Come on, lads. I know you can do it. I've seen you do it before. We haven't. Yeah, it's exactly what I'm thinking, Shogun. People might want to do an interlap for practice. I wouldn't really blame them if it's going to be raining in the wet. We are now down to 2 minutes 10 seconds. At this point, they're not going to get around, especially from the Mercedes garage. You see the chat. I've got the F1 chat on my phone. Absolutely blowing up. So we are just kind of waiting around, really. Just for absolutely nothing to happen. You can see what looks like tiny puddles on the track. I thought there was a big one near Himalaya's name. That's just the Aston Martin badge. Can confirm, Aston Martin badge looks like a puddle. Still both of them. I'm actually quite impressed at the team's committed decision to not withdraw these guys from the session at this point, seeing as you can't get a lap in. You can't do anything other than just sit there. Disaster class. Also, I don't like how non-uniform these DHL banners are across the pit lane. You've got the Red Bull and Ferrari and half of the Mercedes garage. I mean, Gottschalk doesn't even get one, which is quite sad, really. And you've got the Paddock Club. They get DHL banners. And then I think everything beyond the Alfa Romeo garage gets DHL banners once again. As we are literally commentating DHL banner placements. Maybe the Mercedes boys are seeing that the track's cooling down and they're deciding, let's let the drivers cool down as well. Maybe the Mercedes guys have done loads and loads of practice and are banking on everyone else not practicing whatsoever, so now they're currently out of form once again. But anyway, finally, I could have done the grid rundown while we were waiting, but I didn't because DHL banners took my attention. We've got Drake Dempsey, 3.5 tenths of Gottschalk, the first Mercedes on that front row. And then you've got Bayer and Reich, Piper and Fadali on the third row, Himalaya and Daniel Rocker sharing the fourth row, Rocco and Dirksen completing your top 10 on row number 5. Further down you've got Azar and Bruno Mazzini, the first AlphaTauri. He's got Wilson for backup, P13, Crocs 14th, Quilpa Vlakovic, like I said, not the qualifier, but definitely want to look out for, P15, Ekful P16, and you've got both Ferraris, Wagoner and Curley bringing up the back of the field. Squeeze that all in. DHL slipped my wheel from across the earth in record time. Put some respect on that name. Perhaps I've been unclear, because I'm sure it wasn't DHL who placed the banners there themselves. They must be doing something right to have so many. All I'm saying is whoever plans this at Spa need to get the finger out and realise that every garage deserves a DHL banner. And that's the end of it. You got a podium up there. I missed that the first time. It's a bit tight, really. It doesn't look like a great podium if I've ever seen one. Although I think this is the 2012 render of the track, so they might have built a new podium at this point. I really don't know. One of the other charms of the 23 game is you get to stare at the pit lane right up until lights start to go out. I believe we are a full grid minus 1 Red Bull and 1 Aston Martin. This should be interesting. So we are just waiting around again, really. We've done a lot of that, but we're going to do some more as lights out should be imminent any second now. See, every other garage has got a front wing on display apart from Red Bull, keeping their aerodynamic secrets a secret. As Ekval has left the session. Oh, we got a formation lap! I forgot about this. I think as long as no one does anything particularly egregious, as I just see an absolute teleportation from one of the cars. As long as no one massively misses the grid slot. Two different things, crikey. As long as they don't miss the grid slot by 60,000 miles, it should be a bug-free experience as far as tyre temps are concerned. As Codemasters and EA absolutely love to just stick their existing bugs from a previous game into their new game and then say they're all fixed. You've got this disgusting UI up again. Go away. Yeah, I'm praying for no desync as well. League Racing in 2021. I started League Racing. I debuted in Ero actually. I think it was season 6 on the 2021 game, and desync was awful. As someone who'd never League raced before and not really knowing what desync was, I probably caused a lot of issues all the way back when. I haven't seen too much desync in the 23 game. There is a little bit. But for the most part, it's all stable. You just get the odd rubber banding car who's just rubber banding due to connection reasons. And that's about it, really. Oh. Red Bull looks quite nice. Can't even lie. Not a Red Bull fan, but the car looks nice. So we are crawling along. Just about quicker than the safety car lap, I believe. Safety car lap is about 3 minutes. And this is going to be... I hope it's a really nice, smooth start, because it's the season opener, it's the top division on PC, and that's what we'd expect from our drivers. But at the same time, a box office unruly order of chaos would also be welcomed. Drake very aggressively covering the left side on his grid box. Doesn't want to get jumped by the lead Mercedes car, as Rocker is disqualified. It's the first one to miss his grid box. Hopefully that won't really do anything. I see Ekval is ghosted. Should just be able to join off of me if or Quill, as we've got 5 lights anyway. Long hold, but it is go for PCF1 as Drake gets a little bit of a delay off the start there. Bayer in the second Mercedes is absolutely rocked off the start. Will he be able to overtake his teammate? Nothing so far. Ekval has joined back, thankfully, so I don't have to worry about that. Everyone getting through turn 1 nice and cleanly. La Source has been ticked off. Both Ferraris gaining a position each, as for just about everyone else. The odd position change here or there. I'll get tyres up in a second once it's all calmed down a bit, but Drake is now becoming the victim of Kemmel Straight slipstream, as we have got multiple cars just about everywhere trying to get a piece of the action here. Let's try and move further back and just see if everyone's got through cleanly. A few position changes. Mazzini and Wilson both gaining a position there, and I think that is Azar who gets just an absolutely horrible run. Still, everyone is through okay. We now have a new leader of Gottschalk because he managed to pass Dempsey on the Kemmel Straight. No DRS until lap 3, remember, so this is pure slipstream, ERS and engine power currently. It is equal cars, so it's more setup than engine power, but you know what I mean. Dempsey keeping it very tight. as is Bayer and Piper. Fadali is right on the chuff of Reich here though, so perhaps some latent pace. As Quill has unfortunately spun. That is unfortunate. It is a tricky complex. I like them, but they're tricky. Does Quill still have an in-tank front wing? Thankfully they do. There might be some invisible damage there. Only time will tell on that one. Will they come into the pit box or will they just stay out? Won't be able to get the benefit of DRS though, as they are 8 seconds off the back of the next car, but thankfully still in one piece. Anything can happen in this race. As we go on to lap 2, still no DRS enabled. Oh, there's a little tap behind from Tim Bayer, just perhaps locking up a bit there on the medium tyres. Can we get some detail now? There we are, look at that. Hotkey using everything. We've got Bayer sporting Kimi Raikkonen's old number 7. Just dropping a tiny bit off the back of Dempsey after that, what looked like contact. Piper is potentially piping up for a move under the slipstream. Pulls out a bit early just to have a look. Dips back in. Front 5 are starting to pull away a bit here as Reich is on the soft compound of tyres. So if this front 5 are able to get out of the 1 second window to Rocker in the Williams, we will have 2 DRS trains, the lead set and the chasing set, but I think Rocker is just, well, he's actually closed up a fair bit just in this mid part of the lap, so perhaps running slightly higher wings. Everyone looking pretty decent so far. We have had a couple of cars fall back. Ekvel and Nazar perhaps having a bit of an argy-bargy, just losing contact with the what is effectively P1 to P15 DRS train, although Dirksen in the Haas and P9 starting to fall out of that 1 second gap, and it's a crucial lap to get back in. I'd be spending the battery here. Gain so much from the DRS in this game. It's not like last year's game where you'd only gain a few tenths. You gain an absolute heap of time with the DRS, so I'm hoping Dirksen manages to find his way back in. He is on the hard, so it's probably slowing him down a bit. He's now 1.4 seconds away. Cars exchanging fastest laps here. I'm going to go on board with Piper for the front 4 on this DRS train here. I know we've got Riker and other people behind. Look how close Dempsey's getting to the back of Gottschalk in the lead. Tim Bayer's having a little look as well, just picking who is better to get the slipstream from. This might be a double overtake. No. Mercedes not looking to scrap anytime soon. We are only on lap 3. We don't want to be dropping off out of important DRS trains. No way, Jose. Probably will on the last few laps, but for now it's just gap building. As Dirksen has dropped a couple of places as I'm looking at the gap now. Bruno Mazzini is the lead car of that second train. But I think Daniel Rocker is spun in the Williams. Williams having an absolute horrible time here. Spinning through Pouon by the looks of things. Drops all the way down to P14. That is heartbreaking. Got moves further up ahead as well. I'm struggling to keep up there as Himalaya goes around the outside of Fadali. So I don't know if Fadali had some issues there or what happened, but either way. So we've got Wagonar who's retired. Still kicking off. I look at one thing, something else happens. That is the VSE that has been brought out in quite an intriguing part of the track. Because I'm looking at the soft runners and thinking, will any of them pull into the pit lane here? It's probably too early and I wouldn't really expect them to. Anyone looking for an alternate strategy opportunity has got their wish, as Wilson's pulling into the pits here. Off of those soft tyres, so he will gain the benefit of the pitting under the VSE if it continues all the way through. I think under yellow flag conditions with the Delta, you only lose 10 seconds compared to green flag running. Ekvel's retired in the pits. Unfortunate indeed. Probably not too satisfied after the difficult race start that he wasn't really present for. Maybe just running with issues the entire time. But yeah, Wilson pitting onto fresh hard tyres. Daniel Rocker doing the same as well. And they're not far off the back of Pavlakovic here. Quill just taking the track position on the hards. They'll run as far as they can. Probably put the softs on for a 6-lap burst at the end or something. DRS has been enabled and we are back up and running. Gottschalk getting a nice jump. It's an awkward part of the track for the VSC to suddenly end. These cars are very tightly nipped at the moment. Piper getting a really nice line on the hards through P1. We're expecting, I would imagine, the crossover to be sort of lap 6 to lap 8, depending on how people treat the tyres. So for now, all the hard runners need to do is just stick in this train and they will get an incredible benefit. Obviously, not so much for Dempsey, because Dempsey's leading this train, but Dempsey's incredibly quick. He's a reigning champion for a reason. Will we see him move into the bus stop here? Whoa! We do indeed, and Riker's lost the rear end. Realised he's going in a bit hot. Hence the commentary noise, whatever you want to call it. We've got Rocco and Riker with DRS. No one getting past Bruno Mazzini in the AlphaTauri. I have to say, the more I think about it, the more I'm liking Wilson's decision to pit off the softs early. Because I don't think the remaining laps that these softs are going to be relevant are going to make up the 9 or 10 seconds you lose by boxing onto hards. So we'll have to see when these two soft runners pit just how far off the back of Wilson they are, or if they even manage to get ahead of him. I would imagine Wilson is hoping for quite a big undercut on those guys. But looking back to the front, as these are who I'm on board with, we're now down to a 4-car train. Himalaya on the Aston Martin falling away a little bit. He's got Fadali for company in the Alpine. Then another little gap here after that incident. Everyone trying to react to Riker rejoining the track. They've got the biggest train out of anyone, actually, all the way down to Crocs in the Alpine car, the second Alpine. Having a pretty good run considering he's an F2 driver. Obviously, you do always look at lower division drivers with a bit less pace when they drive in a higher tier, but Croc's having a nice tidy showing so far. Just staying on the back of that train nicely and just being pulled along as he needs to. We're only 5 laps in, so there's still plenty of time for things to unfold here. Gottschalk is very, very close to the back of Dempsey, and I'm wondering, clearly he's going to want to get past, but I don't think he's ever going to be able to pull out of a second of Drake and just drive off with this one. I'm sure we'll go for a DRS pass at the top of the hill down the Kemmel Straight with the DRS and get ahead, but we are rapidly approaching crossover territory here. Drake just seems to scrub off a bit more speed through Eau Rouge than Gottschalk in the Mercedes, and I think we're seeing a double pass. Look at that for an on-board, a triple pass even. Drake aggressively defending the inside to prevent that triple pass. That would have been an incredible thing to see there. Both Mercedes either side chopping past the Red Bull. You do not see that in real life. Not at the moment anyway. A few years ago, sure. But that was beautiful. That was. I actually really liked that. Well, these guys will need to be conscious about how much they trade places here, because that will invite this chasing train of Himalaya and Fadali into the mix. You might have 2 more joining this train very shortly if they are able to stay within the 1 second margin. Drake is just looking so poised on these hards. Oh, that was a bad time to say that. Seemed to hold it very well considering what I saw on the onboard. It's another thing, it's probably my favourite feature about this game, is that if you lose grip on the tyres, they don't suddenly turn into blocks of ice. So you can still control the car, and you actually drive the car as a F1 car. So he was able to save that snap. If that was F122, it would have speared off into a barrier. So a bit of a safety cushion for the drivers with how the new cars handle. And yes, we will have a 6-car train at the front now. Riker and the Alfa Romeo 3.6 seconds back, so absolutely no chance at the moment of any other cars joining this. You got both Mercedes, Red Bull, McLaren, Aston Martin and Alpine as a part of this train. Just look how close Drake is to the back of Bayer here, who will get DRS on his teammate as well. So I think Mercedes just need to place their cars very wisely here. Drake doesn't care. He's gone onto the grass. Beautiful move. Unfortunate to make anything stick. I think it was Albon who did that. I think it was when he was in the Red Bull. He went onto the grass. Oh! Drake's held it. Well, that was a bit of an opportunistic nip on the inside of Gottschalk there. Drake looking a bit frustrated in the cockpit, really wanting to pass these guys, but I'm not sure if it's worth it. He's got the better stint ahead of him. We know he's good on strategy and we know he's good on pace. He's just an all-around good driver. I think any time I've ever shared the tarmac with this guy, he's gapped me by 2.5 seconds a lap. And then been kind enough to tell me bits I can improve. So I think he just needs to take half a lap to regain his composure and then just have another go. Take any obvious move that comes his way, but if not, just stay behind. He's only 7-8 tenths off the lead here. And he's got the better stint to come. He can drive off if he nails it. Just sitting on Drake's onboard just to see how the track's actually supposed to be driven. Go on broadcast camera for a bit. Let's start with Piper here in the McLaren. It's, I have seen a couple of penalties pop up on the stream that I haven't really pointed out. I think for viewers it's easy enough to follow, and Drake's already got past Gottschalk there. I missed that. Lucas Dirksen's had enough, unfortunately. Gottschalk has left the session. That's not good. That is not good at all. Dirksen left the session because obviously he's retired. I'm going to quickly see if I can invite Gottschalk because I feel bad. Oh god, it's a new Steam overlay. No, this is too complicated for me. Invites and requests. Friends. Gottschalk. Are you here? No, okay, I'm sorry. I don't want to take too much time away from just actually looking at the stream, as we do have the yellow flag in Sector 1 from Dirksen's retired Haas. If you're on the stream, Gottschalk, please join off of either myself, which will be Shots Ahoy, or Kulpa Vlakovic, which will be Crithalum, I believe is their username. Never really remember. What I can remember though is that there were... Oh yeah. I was going to say, there were 6 cars in this leading train, but Gottschalk is... I'm literally talking about him and how he can rejoin the session as quickly as possible. And I'm wondering where he's gone. So that's great by me, but anyway. Vidali's in the DRS. Himalaya, on the other hand, I don't think is. He pulls into the pits anyway after 7-8 laps on the medium tyres and says, that's enough. Put some hard tyres on. I'd imagine anyway. He might go on the softs or another set of mediums. He might two-stop it. You just don't know. No, he's on hard, of course he is. Anyway, we're on board with Vidali. Nothing really happening with him, so we're on board with Piper here. Using some of the battery, he gets shown the grass. Space eventually granted. Where's Drake going to park his car here? It's tight. Somehow no contact at all. These guys really expressing the limits of their cars. We've got some random person who's joined. A different one to the first one. I'm not sure if we I don't know if potential race engineers are joining midway through. I'm not sure if that's really allowed. I can tell you what it is though, is it's not my problem, as we'll stay on board with Piper here. No we won't, I've lied. It's got on board Curle. I've only really looked at the front, and I think that's unfair on everyone else. Croc's up to P8 now. Look at all the time Gottschalk's losing though, as they are negotiating the Mercedes. Oh, that's really unfortunate, I have to say. Just seeing if there was anything from Gottschalk asking for assistance, how we can get back in the session, but nothing, I'm afraid. So we'll focus on my job, which is running the streams. Vidali is pitting off of those medium tyres. I believe he was P4 when he came into the box. We're going to see a double pass again on the Kemmel Straight. Oh, Bayer covering off Drake there, but that invites Piper through on the inside line. But Drake's just able to brake later on the hards. Definitely crossed over at this point. People already boxing off the mediums. I think Drake just needs to put the hammer down now and trust that these guys behind, as Bayer has a look on Piper. Oh, we're going through Speaker's Corner. I remembered it in the heat of the moment. There is minor contact between the two cars. I think Drake is just going to try and drive off. Take no notice of this whatsoever and just create a gap. He's on the harder compounded tyres. They are probably now the faster tyre of the two. But if he's able to create the gap and then have the benefit with the mediums when he pits, I'd imagine sort of lap 14, then he's loving life, really. I haven't commentated in so long, I forget how much it strains your throat. Good grief, but look at the gap now between the front three and everyone else. Obviously, Gottschalk still not back in the session, as I think Wilson's just made an opportunistic move on Uzar. Oh, no, Uzar has made a non-opportunistic move on the barrier. That's unfortunate. I'm not sure if there was contact there, it just looked like a rear end loss. Quite an organic spin, to be honest. Here's Quill having quite a lonely race, but they can see other cars now, so there's that. Bruno, an entire pit stop ahead of the Williams driver, mind you, as he's yeah, they are quite some way off the back of Wilson, but Wilson is on 6 lap older hards. I said I'd monitor that, and then I didn't really, but here we are, paying it back now. Side by side behind here is Himalaya just getting ahead of Vidali, who is on the fresh, hard compounded tyres. Really needs to negotiate this traffic as quickly as possible here, as Zara's had enough after that spin. No one expecting safety cars, which I'm a bit surprised by. At Spa, and we've already had a VSC. It's Vidali doing exactly as I mentioned, getting through the traffic quickly. He's just got so much more grip on the hards. They haven't grained at all, as Crocs picks up a penalty that might not be his first. Although it might be. Take your pick. It's one or the other, really, isn't it? Rocco is still on the back of Curlo here in the Ferrari, and they're just ever so slightly falling away from the front three. I wouldn't really say they're losing touch with them, because I lost touch with them a long time ago. Gottschalk is back, although I'd imagine he will be quite dissatisfied with where his car is now, as he's just being passed by Vidali, who's gained an entire pit stop on Gottschalk since Gottschalk DC'd, so I really do feel for him. I'm glad he's back in at least. He can still make a race out of what he has left. Piper's in the pits off the hards, so he's had enough laps to realise that the hards are a bit naff, and that you can go through the rest of the race on the medium compounded tyres, probably just hoping to go through one stage of graining on them at this point. Drake's staying out, but this will be pretty interesting here. Piper will guarantee an undercut. I wonder if Bayer or Drake, seeing as we're halfway through the race, see if either of them respond to this undercut attempt here. I think if Piper can hook everything up nicely as he comes out in P9 with traffic ahead, mind you, could gain 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds worth of time here with the undercut, then just have one lap older tyres for the rest of the Grand Prix. We'll have to see. I'm not going to stay on board with him the entire time. Let's see how Vidali's doing with his progress in the Alpine. 2 positions ahead of Piper at the moment. These were in the leading group. Had a bit of a head start, undercutting onto the hard tyres. Probably could have stretched the mediums out a bit further, as he will struggle come the last few laps of the Grand Prix. But anyway, still just trying to get past Rocker here in the Williams, who's yet to make a pit stop. No, I lie. He made a pit stop at the same time Wilson did. It's definitely fared better since then. I wonder if Rocker will make another stop or just go to the end on these used hards. Anyway, Fadali gets ahead. Piper right behind as well. Doesn't want to lose touch with Fadali at all. And I definitely think Piper is in the better position here. Doesn't fully commit, but the space is given anyway. Maybe a slight side pocket contact there with the front wheel, but nothing crazy. Both quite low on the battery actually, as we do see that Drake has come in here. Bayer's staying out. Will Piper finally get the move done on Fadali? That looked like he crunched the front wing a bit there. Hopefully no damage for the Alpine. We'll just have to carry on anyway. Look at the choice. But look at this little gaggle behind. This includes Dempsey, mind you, as well. And if no one is looking to pit here, as we've got 3 wide up ahead, if no one's looking to pit, then this is just the net order. Oh, that was always going to happen. There's big contact. Drake involved as well, as I think he's lost a front wing. Has to be a safety car, and it is. He's lost the end plate, so he's going to have to go back into the box. That will definitely go to the steward's room. 3 wide. Ooh. This is what I was mentioning about there being a surprise for the odd couple of drivers leaving midway through the race. Is can never count out a safety car at Spa. This bails out Gottschalk quite a bit. I think Himalaya is taking responsibility for this incident here. It's nice to see when people do. If it really was his fault, then, you know, fair play for him sticking his hand up. I was a bit surprised to suddenly pan to a 3 wide moment while I was waffling about lead groups and net leaders and stuff. Speaking of leaders, Bayer gets a free pit stop. He will remain P1 for certain. What strategy is he running though? This is an interesting lap. I thought it might be. I didn't want to sound silly for calling it, so I didn't. I regret my decision immediately. Bayer is on the softs. It would be absolutely crucial for him to get away from everyone else. Although saying that, look at everyone coming to the pits. Maybe it is just softs from here. I haven't really done a lot of Spa because obviously it's old. Curley up to P2. These are all net positions, as we've got pretty much everyone who came into the pit lane pitting onto softs. We've got Reich in the Alfa Romeo on mediums, as well as Mazzini and Drake, who's gone onto another set of mediums. I mean, if it was me, I'm not saying this just because I waited to see if Drake did it or not, I'd go onto the mediums. I think the softs are good for about 5 full speed laps here, and then they fall off a cliff, especially with how tyre deg works in this game as well. You don't want your tyres falling off a cliff before everyone else around you. It's just not good. I mean, Kerle's only on 1 lap old softs, but I'm expecting to see him drop. Not for anything pace related. It's just with how the tyres work. He will hit the cliff first, and everyone else will suddenly be 1 second plus a lap quicker, because it's just how the tyre wear seems to work in this game. It's probably a bit exaggerated, but for anyone who's played, definitely will have noticed some significant drop-off points throughout the race. Normally one at about 25%, and then another one somewhere else. 25% wear on softs here is 3 laps. 4 laps probably, actually, but you know, like I said, they're not good for many racing laps. So we see Crocs just avoiding the back of the Ferrari. This is what we want to see, though. The amount of times Drake has abandoned qualifying, which normally he'll establish a lead in the season, abandon qualifying when he knows he's probably going to win if he DNFs every race. But he'll abandon qualifying and then do a last question mark, and quite often he wins because he's Drake. It would be interesting to see how this man cuts through the field. I think he's quite young, but he's a man. Look at him. He's in the F1 car like everyone else. Quill is in. Quill making a smart decision here to recognise that the safety car will stay out for one more lap regardless of whether or not everyone's caught up. It's only been out for the lap that it's been caught on. Quill pitting for what I'd imagine would be soft tyres now, so they get reduced wear compared to the rest of the field. However, that does ruin Drake's last question mark, so quite frankly, Quill, what have you done? That is a very good very smart decision from the Williams driver. That one lap reduced wear, it's a long lap under safety car. This also wear a good 4%, even if you're careful. You can't run high pressures in this game either because the tyres will cook. Suddenly you'll have, instead of poor low speed rotation, you'll have very, very good low speed rotation, but no control. The car will just spin under braking every time. Spin on the power every time. Tyre temp thresholds have been adjusted in this game, but then so have the pressures and everything as well. I'm quite impressed with the level of precision you can put into setups and things, which have changed over the last couple of games, but the cars work in such a fine operating range that it doesn't really seem to have made much of a difference. It's just more panels to avoid now. I said I wasn't bothered about penalties, but I'm looking at Crocs, and I had to see how much time penalty he had. It's 3 seconds track limits. It's the only one he's induced this race. I mean, there's going to be 7 racing laps, but I don't know about how he's going to fare, if I'm honest. And if I talk any slower, I'm going to fall asleep. Right. This is what we want to see. It's not what the game wants to see. Now it is what the game wants to see. Because that barrier is so poorly positioned. Definitely not a cameraman's fault. Tim Bayer leading the entire field up to Blanchimont. A safety car is now pulling into the pit lane so he can fire away whenever he wants. It's either going to be out of the bus stop or just before the bus stop. He's slowing the field down a lot, which makes me think he might go early, and he has done. I'm not surprised to see that, but Curly was a little bit, I have to say, and then Crocs is even more surprised. He's got everyone for company behind him here, and a penalty to boot, so Crocs will be the cork in the bottle, I think. His teammate already sizing him up. I think Crocs won't fight that one. Play the ultimate Alpine team game here of being the cork in the bottle for everyone else. Let's hop on board with Rocco as the gap in front is huge. Are we seeing any contested positions? Gottschalk! Let's hop on board with him. The Mercedes redemption attempt up the hill here through Radion. Just trying to get alongside the Alfa Romeo. I'm sure we'll try it under braking with these softs. Oh, look at that! That was beautiful! An absolute send on the outside, and he's nailed that perfectly. It looked like a TAS did that, for anyone who knows what a TAS is. But yeah, it was huge. It's been completely engineered by machinery, that move. That was incredible. He's now right on the back of Rocker already. I want to see Gottschalk win this, purely because that disconnection robbed him a lot of places in the race. Now that the safety car's brought everyone back together, he has a real good shout of making a good result of this Grand Prix. One more soft runner up ahead, then a couple of medium runners to get through, and then he's P4. I think he can do it. I'm not sure about anything afterwards. Depends how much time he loses in this train. But I'm very excited to see this man's progress. Another man who looks to be trying to make progress is Rocker as well. If he can get past one of the two medium runners here, that will dislodge things a bit. And yeah, I'd have to say, I make Gottschalk's and everyone else's job a bit easier as well. McLaren defending the position, leaving a small amount of room on the apex of the bus stop there. Can Gottschalk do anything in a Mercedes? I think I'd just wait here and see what these guys do. They're probably going to lose each other time. But saying that, they slotted behind each other and Gottschalk goes alongside the McLaren. Following Rocker through here, I think these guys will just be inadvertently working with each other. Excuse me. As Rockers will punch the holes in. Gottschalk will fill the gaps. Go for the opportunistic moves. Perhaps not this one though. There's Crocs looked very vulnerable on that straight. And then suddenly was at the same speed of the chasing car. So I think it probably just alerted him to the presence of two very, very fast looking Formula 1 cars on soft tyres trying to make their way through the field. I really, as much as I want Rocker and Gottschalk to make loads of progress on their softs up to the front group, I also want to see how well Crocs can help his teammate out, as we will be going on to the DRS lap after this one here. Crocs playing the team game quite nicely, reducing the threat to Fadali up ahead. Fadali able to concentrate on chipping away at Curley and Bayer for a potential Alpine victory. Bayer looking very comfortable up ahead though. Let's go on board with the Mercedes as the... no, we're not actually, because there's an attempt of a move once again. Rocker and Gottschalk keeping my reaction on the commentary booth honest. So I'm also the cameraman. Look at the closing speed of the cars behind. There's a tag from Riker on Rocco. How much has that unsettled the McLaren? Not much, but here's Drake Dempsey on the mediums. Quietly making up a few positions here, and if it weren't for the Gottschalk and Rocker saga being so exciting, I would have seen more of this. Rocker is way ahead of Crocs here, so definitely made a move early doors, and now Gottschalk will be trying to see what Dempsey can do. Carry so much more speed than Riker in the Alfa Romeo. Goodbye. This is a good camera angle. Give it back. This'll do. Ooh, sweeps across. Lovely stuff. Rocco just trying to look for a way past. Dempsey actually hit the side of Gottschalk there. I think the mediums at this point already are probably looking a lot better than the softs are. Especially having been leaned on as much as it is just a sprint to the flag. Mediums at this point onwards would definitely be the faster tyre. Dempsey getting a bit wrong there. Through Speaker's Corner. Still remember it. I think I'm 5 for 5 now. Gottschalk Max on the clear earlier today, yeah, definitely. That was, whew, that was a lovely move. Really, really was. Wonder if Ero do overtake awards still, because that was one to print out, stick on the fridge. Lovely. Anyway. Gottschalk seems to have lost some momentum here. Rocker is over a second clear of Crocs here. Just 2 thousandths outside of the DRS window, at least by the standards of the timing tower, but it looks to be true. I did also notice that Crocs had his ERS on midway through the bus stop there, so that might have compromised him a bit. We've got Gottschalk and Dempsey for company. Dempsey just has so much confidence on the throttle and a lot more battery to play with as well. Gottschalk now within the recharge window. Dempsey will probably get a double overtake here. He can find the space on the left here. Has done. Let's get the broadcast camera here now, as we've got a whole gaggle of cars. Even Rocco looking for a move outside of Crocs, so there's contact. They're speared into each other. I hate having a dry throat for things like that, but kind of looks like Crocs just swept across Rocco a little bit there. Rocco was quite far alongside. I'm having a look on the stream that I have live on the second monitor, and oh, I don't know actually. I don't think Crocs quite saw Rocco. Rocco wasn't that far alongside. Sweeping through the second part of Lake Com. Crocs took the racing line, went for the apex. There was a McLaren front wing there on the on that part of the track, and there was front wing to rear tyre contact, and that sent them both into each other. I've never seen two cars sort of lock horns there, but they did. Dempsey vying for clear air. Surely you'll go for a move. Maybe not. Wants a DRS actually, otherwise we'll just get passed again by Rocker. So Dempsey will play for DRS here. Try and slingshot himself up to the next group of cars, and well, the next group of cars is the leading group of cars who've been very quiet. For Dali getting past Curley at some point, I apologise for missing that. There's just been a lot of action everywhere else. Reich's retired in the pits. There won't be any safety cars now onwards. Drake already alongside the Williams here. Gets a DRS. Looking at Goshout behind in the slipstream of Rocker here. So Goshout was losing some momentum, but now that Crocs is out of the picture, he's right back in the fray. He'll just want to follow Dempsey through here. I don't think he has hope of passing Dempsey from this point onwards. Dempsey with 1.2 seconds to find to get within the DRS window of the cars ahead, and then it'll be a lot easier. 2.5 laps to do it. He might be able to. I mean, he's 3 tenths up already. These mediums definitely firing beautifully at the start of the race. Can't get my words out. It's all been a bit exciting. Second half of the Grand Prix. How is that not track limits? I've seen Drake take that line a couple of times. How is that not track limits? It is unbelievably close. I mean, the Red Bull has found quite a lot of temps. Nearly an entire second through Sector 2. And that is just pristine execution for you. Some of that will be the assistance of having better tyres, but I think for the most part, it's just... Oh, I was about to say Drake's skill, and I'm glad I didn't get that far, because he did lose the rear under braking. I've talked a couple of times about changes they've made from the 22 game, and another one is brake bias. Made it so that you can lose the rear just as easy as you can lose the front end if you lock up. Cox gets another 3-second time penalty down in P12, so that will be a slam dunk last place for him. I'm sure he'll want to cross the line though, with there being 2 laps left of this race. Drake trying to get every thousandth that he can, dipping a wheel on the grass to try and just shorten the run down to Lake Com. Curley's quite close to the back of Fadali here, as Bay is just running away with this one. I think Bayer, as long as he doesn't make a mistake, will be home and dry. Losing a lot of time through these corners. And Speaker's Corner. Remembered every time. What a day for me. Pat on the back. Let's move. Got the usual suspects in the top 6. I'm not really sure who will have a realistic chance of overtaking anyone else. Wilson and Mazzini and Piper and Pavlakovic and Rocco. Wow, that list went on further than I thought it would. All in a bit of a train themselves. Mazzini will have the biggest advantage of them all with the battery advantage on his teammate. No, not battery. Wrong way round. But yeah, Wilson will have to dump his entire battery to keep his teammate behind him. We're looking ahead here now. Dempsey has managed to get within 1 second very comfortably of the cars ahead. We'll have to use this ERS smartly. They're all on about the same. Dempsey with maybe 5% more. Gets a good exit. Battery on already, so just want to use a bit now. Not scrub off any speed through over Rouge and Radion. Use it up the hill. Ideally get alongside the Ferrari nowish. Just so they can... Oh, I was hoping that Ferrari wouldn't go left there. Can Drake brake later and go around the outside of Curley and the Ferrari there? They're still alongside. Oh, it's tight, and Fadali wants a piece of this as well. Just backs off smartly. Doesn't want to be a part of any concertina issues as Fadali's on a bit wide. That's Gottschalk! Gottschalk's got it all wrong here. I'm not sure if there was contact between him and Rocco, but that is him into the barrier and giving everyone, apart from Crocs, a free position in the final lap of the race. Rocco especially will say thank you very much. That's the McLaren driver in the point. Speaking of McLaren drivers, Piper right on the back of Wilson. I know Piper's got a penalty, but will he try something anyway? Doesn't look like it at this moment. Top on board with Vidali. He's close to Curley here, but dropping off a little bit. It's all been a wee bit exciting here. I don't think anyone's got enough in the tank to really make any more moves. Drake managing to get up to P2 again. Well, let's hop on board with Bayer through the bus stop chicane. It's Tim Bayer in the Mercedes. Will take the first win of the season for Ero F1 on the PC, followed by Drake Dempsey. Curley holding on to P3, Vidali closely behind him. You've got Rocker. Mazzini leads this train. It is as follows. Mazzini, Wilson, Pavlakovic, Piper, Rocco, although he gets ahead of his teammate due to penalties. Gottschalk, unfortunately, not able to get ahead of Piper on penalties. Finishes P11 after that scrub of the barrier and the DC early on as well. I've got an achievement. Eagle Eye. Spectate an online race. The writing on that Alpine car was horrible. Right, let's see if we can get a race director. I'm going to skip the podium just in case it decides to be difficult. I'm sorry, Tim. And there you are. P1, Vidali getting the fastest lap with a 43.0 at the end. Oh, yes! Here we go. This is what we want. We'll get the pit stops as well. Any front wings? 2 front wings. Piper and Dempsey after that interesting 3-wide moment. No, we'll do race director again. Because we can. That is lovely stuff. Lovely stuff indeed. Okay. Get all of the finishing times. Oh, actually, don't need all the finishing times. They're right here. Penalties on board as well. Beautiful. You can see the finishing order. I haven't got enough time. We had 60 NFs in the end, most of which just sort of drove themselves into the pits. Unfortunate for them, but they can come back next week as well as everyone else to do it all again. That is splendid. Absolutely splendid. Well, that was Spa. Nothing much else to see really here, to be honest. We had a race, and it went rather adequately, unless you're one of the 6 drivers who it didn't go adequately for. Yeah. Okay, so what I need to do is get some interviews going. I didn't know if interviews were going to be a thing. Turns out they are. No worries for me. So, how am I going to do this? Is the question. Right, so we had Tim Bayer, Drake Dempsey, and it was Curley holding on to P3, wasn't it? Which I know is McGinty, but still. Yeah, Curley. Is it? That's not McGinty, it's Smigolski. I swear that I might have just changed his last name. I'm going to change voice chat so I can talk to these lovely chaps about how their race went. Okay, lovely stuff. We've got Lucas, first one in the interview booth, so I'll start off with you. How did that go for you? I saw you made up quite a lot of places, maybe even the most places overall from your original grid position of what I think was either P17 or P18.
Yeah, I think it was P18. My first lap was horrendous, and then the rain came, so I couldn't go out for another lap, so I ended up starting P18.
Yeah, I think, well, I'm not sure if everyone was expecting their banker runs to be their final runs, but unfortunately it's just how it played out in qualifying, and yeah, I think Ferrari definitely getting caught out the most. Talk us through your race. How much did that safety car help with gaining you those all-important places?
The safety car pretty much gave me the podium. I was just trying to undercut the guys on their hards, but they ended up pitting at the same time as me. I pitted on soft, they pitted on mediums. The softs were very dead at the end. I know what else to say. It's just kind of cruising, trying to stay with the DRS of the Alpine in front.
Yeah, that was.
But yeah.
It was quite a fun one to watch. I was saying on stream when people came in for the safety car pit, I was imagining most people would go on to softs, but am I right in thinking they sort of die off after about 5 or 6 racing laps, and then they just feel like sort of lumps of butter, just sliding off?
They were horrendous. I was trying my best to keep online, but even that was a challenge.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, and I suppose for you as well, because you had 1 racing lap on them before the safety car was called. It must have just been even worse for you. So well done for sticking in there and sort of actually managing to get past the Alpine, which I unfortunately missed on the stream. There was so much going on further back that I just didn't know where to look, but it got you a podium, so congratulations on that one. I'll move on to Drake. That was what looked like a very good first stint on the hards, keeping up with both the Mercedes and the mediums, which then was made easier by one of them disconnecting. Just talk us through that first stint, first of all. Were you surprised to stay as close as you were to the other guys?
Honestly, I wasn't really sure. The gaps can be kind of iffy this game. It's not as dominant. Sometimes you do one wrong thing and your tires are all skewed. So it really just depends. So I wasn't really that surprised, I guess, to keep up, because it's pretty easy when you're behind slipstream being so powerful. But with the drop-off being quicker than the hard tire drop-off would be on the mediums, it wasn't that difficult because of all the DRS and slipstream going on. Pretty easy to save battery behind. So I was just trying to keep an easy pace, conserve things. Had a little bit of a moment with Daniel, and I almost died, but I drifted it through going before no name.
Yeah, I saw that one. I wasn't sure if there was contact or anything, but that was very well held. But then it all seemed to come a bit undone with the 3 wide moment that caused the safety car.
Yeah,
we all saw it.
I can talk about that.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I come out of the pits. I look at this, so they're 4 wide on the damn Camel Straight. Someone's lost their head. When nobody backs out, it's always going to be somebody who reaps the consequences. So, unfortunately, that was the guy I could not avoid, and he died. His wheel sent off into the stratosphere or whatever the hell, and my wing about as broken as some people's dreams. So, I just had to box. I was considering softs, but I thought they would die too quickly, so I thought mediums would be better since I picked balanced. So I just tried to make it the best I could. I would not be I told myself under safety car a podium would suffice. So, I mean, I would obviously want the win, but Tim is pretty quick, so.
Yeah, he managed to. He managed to get ahead of the other runners on softs out the front and just maintain a stable lead. You definitely managed to achieve what you were hoping for with a P2 finish in the end, but it did leave me wondering what could have been if that safety car hadn't have happened. In any case, very good P2. We will see, I'm sure, another great performance next week as well, and hopefully you can fight for the win. I will now move on to Tim. seemed to pretty much be at the front or near it for the entire Grand Prix, and I think out of the three of our drivers in the interview room, you probably had the least amount of action, but it doesn't take away from your overall result. How was the race for you?
To be honest, actually around this track, it's more about being in P3 or P2. So I was really comfortable in the first stint with the mediums, and I also wasn't really interested in taking the lead. But to be honest, I noticed I had lower wings, higher wings than Drake, and probably also compared to the other drivers, means I also could manage to drive the medium and soft strat, which I also planned to do, no matter if there would have been a safety car or not. And afterwards, it was quite an easy drive. I first wanted to get out of the DRS, and then I was comfortably ahead. And nonetheless, I want to mention my teammate Daniel, who also did a phenomenal job, to be honest. He had quite a lot of unluck, but I mean, that can happen. We're still at the beginning of the season and at the beginning of the game, so I'm glad to take my first win here, but I also would say this result doesn't represent all the pace of the others, so we'll see in the next races.
Very, very well said. Yeah, we'll just quickly point out how unlucky your teammate was, especially with the disconnection as well. It's a shame we don't have free practice sessions before, or like a practice week or something for all these gremlins to get sorted out. I'm sure he'll be back guns a blazing next week, but yeah, it definitely looked like you had the race you planned to have, Tim, especially with getting the full benefit of the safety car being called out at around your pit lap anyway. And then just from there, able to drive off, maintain a gap to the cars behind, and just stay out of trouble definitely earned you the race win. So I think I'll wrap it up there, to be honest. It was a very eventful and fun race to watch, and I look forward to seeing how you guys progress throughout the season, albeit with a different commentator, but I'll be tuning in anyway to cheer you all on. But yeah, that's been Ero F1, and yeah, we'll see you all next time.